Two dead men are fighting to reincarnate through me. I was born with bow legs that are very, very curved, and every year on my birth month, a giant boy grows on my lips for exactly 2 months with heavy fever, and they make me fear my birthday month. According to my grandma, the trouble started the very day I was born. When my mother gave birth to me, everybody became afraid immediately because my two legs were badly bent like an old man's walking stick. The nurses were shocked. Some people even said that I look cursed, but my father refused to believe it. He carried me in his arms and said, "My son, it's normal and God will heal you." But few weeks later, another strange thing happened. One morning, my mother noticed a small boy growing on my upper lips. At first, they thought it was ordinary sickness, but within days, the boy became so big and painful that I stopped sucking breast milk. My whole body became hot like fire. I cried day and night until my mother nearly lost her mind. They rushed me from one hospital to another, giving me injections with other medications. Sometimes I would get better for a few months. Then suddenly the sickness would return again, especially during my birthday month. And because of the painful boils on my lips, I couldn't eat properly or smile. When I turned 5 years, at some point, children in our neighborhood started running away from me like I carried an evil spirit. They called me old man Pikin and they refused to play with me completely, and I became lonely. As I grew older, the sickness became worse. At night, I would suddenly scream from my sleep and start describing events that happened years back before I was born. My mother would call my father with tears and fear in her face. But my father would say to her, "Don't worry, it's just a nightmare, or maybe our son is gifted." My mother would say to him, "Let's go back to sleep. But this one don't pass gift though." Few months later, I woke up one night crying and telling my parents that I saw two men in my dream. The men was dragging me and claiming that I belonged to them. They wore dirty faded clothes. One of them had bow legs and the other one was with terrible boils on his lips. My parents became terrified. My father held me tightly while my body shook like someone being electrocuted, and my mother cried. Then the next morning, my grandma arrived and said to my parents, "This boy is being dragged by two dead men with bow legs and boys." "How did you know about the dream, this woman? You be witch?" "No, you not be witch now." That is what my mother told my grandma. Then my grandma said to her, "Watch your mouth, daughter-in-law. My late husband appeared to me in my dream last night and told me everything." My grandma continued, "The two men was friends before they unalive. One of them is my late husband, Mr. Okuchuku. He had terrible bow legs that is very, very bent before he unalive. Then his friend, Emeka, was a sugar boy, always clubbing, and he was not married nor gave birth to a child. He later fell sick and unalive with terrible boils covering his lips. So Emeka now wants to come back to life, but he had no offspring, and he is trying to reincarnate through Chidubem, my grandson. But my late husband refused, saying that Chidubem belongs to him. So they are fighting over him because both of them wants to come back to life through Chidubem." Then my mother immediately shouted, "God forbid, none of them will come back through my son. They should leave him alone for me." And my father got angry and said, "My son is not a reincarnation of anybody. He is a child of God." Then my grandmother said to my parents, "Let's change Chidubem's name to Okuchuku, his grandfather's name. Then we will visit a native doctor to do the ritual so that Emeka will get boy for lips, go leave my grandson alone." "God forbid, my family and I will never visit any shrine," my mother screamed. From that day, my father spent almost all his money moving me from church to church and prayer houses, but it didn't work. Whenever my birthday month approached, everybody in the house became so nervous because that was when the attack usually started. The voice and fever would return, even the nightmares, everything would just return. And the old men would come back again. And sometimes they stood near my bed silently staring at me. Other times they call my name softly inside the dream. At some point, I find it very difficult to go outside because people mocked me and my fellow children laughed at me openly and avoided me because strange things kept on happening around me. There were days I would suddenly faint in the school. After hearing whispers nobody else could hear, I became isolated because nobody wants to sit close to me in the classroom. So immediately the school dismissed, I rushed back home only for me to hear the saddest news that made my life even darker. I saw my father crying, and some of our neighbors were there consoling him. My grandma held me close and said to me, Chidubem, my son, your mother unalive while trying to give birth to your baby sister, and we lost both of them. I cried and went to my father. He carried me, and we both cried. But my father became broken. He hardly spoke to anyone. So my grandma became everything to me. She fed me and stayed with me all the night. But I noticed she was afraid. She would lock the door early and keep praying quietly at night. And she started calling me by my grandfather's name because she believed that it would stop the friend from claiming me completely. But instead, everything became worse. The dreams increased, the fever became hotter, the voice became so big, and my legs became more curved. Then my grandma told my father to take me to a native doctor if he doesn't want to lose me too. He accepted to go, but he needs some time to get ready financially. Few months later, my grandma became thin and weak because of fear and sickness. Then, one particular night, she slept and didn't wake up the next day. I felt completely alone because the only person who understood my suffering was gone forever. After her burial, my father became worried and took me to a powerful seer in another village. The moment she saw me, she refused to touch me, but she said, This boy is standing between two dead men. But there was a way to separate me from them. Please help me, the wise one, my father whispered. I will perform a sacrifice with spiritual items to free your son, the seer continued. You will buy 3 goats, 3 white clothes, and ancient materials worth 1,000,000 naira. My father started crying because the amount she mentioned was more money than my father had ever had in his account. Then we went back home, but after some months, everything changed. People mocked my father everywhere he went, and slowly my father started avoiding me until one day he left me completely. Then he later married another woman and had healthy children without bow legs or boys. Meanwhile, I was abandoned with pain, sickness, and fear. Sometimes I sit alone and ask myself questions that nobody can answer. Why was I chosen? Why would dead people refuse to rest? And the scariest part is that every year during my birth month, the 2 old men still appears in my dreams. Right now, I'm living alone, no family or friend. And sometimes I feel like ending it all. Chat. This story is from a 22 years old boy suffering from spiritual attacks, all in the name of reincarnation. Tell me what you think about this story in the comment section. Do you think that people can return through another person? Like, do you believe in reincarnation? And if you were in his shoes, what would you do? As for me, I don't believe in reincarnation. Thank you for watching.